Can you hear
Sorry,
me?
David Lee. I was running late.
All good. I actually just got off with the Florida Surf Film Festival guys, Kevin Miller and John Brooks.
Such fantastic fellows, those two. Are
They
they?
they had a recording scheduled with Greg Browning, and he canceled last minute. And so they texted me, and they're just like, "Hey, are you available?"
Heck yeah! Always ready to podcast.
How hard is scheduling when you guys are doing dirty water? Have you run into hiccups?
Derek thankfully does all the scheduling, so
Okay.
Derek will hiccup, but I am thankfully just come on. I guess we got a couple where it's just Derek and I having a chat, and guest doesn't show up, but fairly rare.
Good.
Yeah.
Good? Go ahead.
Were Kevin and John broadcasting from their nuclear bunker?
Is that the office at ACA?
No, but like, are they worried about Russia and Ukraine?
No, I don't think so. That didn't even come up.
Okay, good.
Are you?
No.
Okay,
but
good.
Very interested in it, but not worried.
Yeah. Well, my younger brother just got deployed there.
Ooh, is he excited?
I think there's some of the fear tempers the would-be excitement.
Where did he get deployed to?
He's not allowed to say, so he told us, but I'm not allowed to say.
Germany is where he got deployed to.
Who knows?
He's going to enjoy some nice kraut, some Bavarian beers.
I think they have him on a strict regimen. I don't think they're allowed to go out and enjoy those things.
You don't think they bring him in to their undisclosed location?
Yeah. Maybe in limited quantities.
Yeah.
Chaz, welcome back. It's February 24th. We are on the Grit podcast, behind the headlines of beachgrit.com with @surfjournalist and @surfsplendor.
A great day to be alive.
It really is. Nice 9 Club sweater.
Oh, thank you. You like it?
Yeah. Were you a guest, or how'd you get that thing?
I sure wasn't. Cersei Wallace was a guest on the 9 Club. And
no way.
I was very chilly the other day and did not pack a sweater, and looked in the trunk of the car, and lo and behold, there was a sweater. So I put it on. It's very much too small, but goes with my style move of wearing too small sweaters, I suppose.
Showing the midriff.
Yep.
Was she a recent guest?
She was. It was a couple weeks ago, maybe.
Awesome. Good for her.
Yeah. 9 Clubbing.
Awesome. So last week, how good was Jamie Brissick?
Jamie Brissick is just, he's a cultural gift for all of us.
Truly.
I
think of it all through the realm of like, how is somebody as a podcast guest, and he's great, but I just want to hang out with Jamie Brissick more. Forget about the podcast. He's just a cool dude to be around.
Have you ever gone out to lunch with Jamie Brissick?
No, I haven't.
It'll be one of the best lunches of your life. You'll talk, you'll laugh, you'll feel uplifted and inspired. Jamie's like a true artist too. Like, he really is perpetually working on his craft, right? And so nothing ever feels like throwaway or shallow.
Well, he's like got a charisma, of course, so he's likable, but he's always vulnerable. He's always kind of like in between when we're recording. He's always revealing something that he's going through, a struggle that he's going through, and trying to connect on that level. And so that's very endearing to me. But then he's also super smart. He's super funny. He's very talented on top of all of that. So almost his vulnerability and his like sensitivity almost makes you think like, I don't know, it belies the intelligence.
He was a Rhodes Scholar, you know that.
That's right. Yeah. What does that mean?
Went to Oxford. Like, it's a specific I think exchange, like very fine exchange program between Oxford and the US, I suppose, where a US student goes and studies at Oxford for a minute. And I think he did it as, I don't know if he was getting his graduate degree or what, but he did something on surf is what he studied there, if I recall.
And who picked you for that? Is it your college that
I think it's the Rhodes Foundation or whatever.
Okay.
I think you apply through that thing.
Well, when we had him on, all we talked about, or all that I asked him about, was his new podcast. I don't think I even mentioned the fact that he's published a bunch of books, but
Yep.
we should mention that now. Listeners should go type in Jamie Brissick on Amazon, and the Westerly book is probably the most recent one, but he did a couple of books prior to that as well. So go read Jamie Brissick's work.
Worth every minute of the time.
I talked to him after you left about the Westerly documentary, asking what happened to that or where is it. And he said it's actually going to be released very shortly.
Fantastic. I mean, what a timely story.
Oh, I know. It's only gotten more timely. I mean, they started production on that 10 years ago.
Yep.
And obviously the theme throughout that, for those who don't know, is Peter Druin transitioning to living a life as Westerly Wendina. And so, yeah, that has become much more kind of culturally, I don't know, less taboo to talk about and culturally relevant in that time. But I think you and I were questioning if it disappeared or got canceled because of something to do with that exact topic.
Didn't Peter transition back now, or Westerly?
I'm not, I can't say fully. I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
I was under the impression that Westerly has gone back to being Peter, but
I've heard that. I've
Yeah.
heard that. I don't exactly know.
Yeah, we can just leave that one in the don't know.
Well, I think that's where the documentary will clarify a lot, right?
Be worth watching for that alone.
There you go. I've got a listener call that I want to share with you that relates to last week's podcast as well. So let's do that.
Chaz, Dave, Jason calling from the frozen tundra of Chicagoland to speak on the benefits of lap swimming. Long-time swimmer, self-proclaimed and proud Val, started surfing far too late in my life, but always was a swimmer, always put in the yardage. And it will make you able, as you're learning to surf, able to paddle out, first try, Ocean Beach, San Francisco, 1,000 ice cream headaches, only to get absolutely worked. Convinced that that's the place that you should be learning because you made it out. Give it a whirl. But don't be like me and quit lap swimming and then try to go back to that break once you actually know how to surf, because you will walk in with your tail between your legs. Keep up the work.
I love Keep Up the Work so much.
So good.
The ode to lap swimming. That's some fantastic advice right there from our friend in Chicagoland.
I disagree. So you and Jamie were singing the praises of lap swimming last week. I'm saying it gives you a false sense of confidence because you can swim like a beast in the pool. This guy's going to go paddle out at Ocean Beach, and just because he made it out, he's like, "Oh, I deserve to be here." And you're just going to get smashed. You're going to find yourself in harm's way.
It's true. Swimming should not be a substitute for anything, but it does very much help with your paddling.
Where did you find lap swimming? Did you ever have a pool, or did you have to go to the local pool?
No, I never had a pool in my life. When I really fell in love with it, I was actually teaching at USC, and USC has the Olympic pool there for the '84 Olympics. Beautiful, iconic lap pool. So as a USC teacher, I was able to use the facilities, so I would just swim laps after teaching, and then that's where I really got hooked.
I would love to do it. I just don't have access to a pool, and there's no chance that I'm going to a public pool.
Really? There's fine public pools around, though. There's a lot that are even saline now.
Really?
I bet you could find a great public pool that has like lap swimming in the morning. Or
yeah, I don't know. There's something about, I'm not worried about urine or but it's like being amongst other people. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to go to a gym either. Same exact reason, you know?
I hear you, but the only way you can really swim laps, nobody has a lap pool in their home.
No.
And you can't really do it in like your kidney shaped pool. So you need like the big long square. So inevitably, that's where you end up.
I think I'll never, that is my stop. That's enough friction for me to not go lap swimming. I don't want lap swimming enough in order to face my agoraphobia.
You should try it one time. Just go see. But then also that one time of doing a workout is you have to do it multiple times, I think, in order to truly enjoy. Go to USC.
No, that's way too far of a drive too. I have tons of excuses. I'll keep laying them out for you. You know what I like though about, did he say that he's been surfing for 10 years or is that a different call that I'm thinking about?
I think he said he was very late to surfing, but I don't think he specified.
There's another call I'm going to play for you later then who does mention 10 years. But it made me think, how crazy is surfing that 10 years is not enough time to be competent at it?
10 years is like, so you just started.
I know, it's crazy.
Sweet, yeah.
It's like Gladwell's 10,000 hours completely do not apply. It's 100,000 in surfing.
The only person who can say they've been surfing 10 years and I'll think, okay, good on you, is a 10-year-old child.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
If a 10-year-old child has been surfing 10 years, I'll say, okay, all right.
I'll even go a 10-year-old child who starts at 10. I'm fine with that as well. I think, 10 to 20, those are kind of formative years that they can actually learn and apply real quick.
Yeah, 30 to 40 though. Oh, so you just started surfing. Great.
Exactly.
Good to know.
30 to 40, that 10 years is the same as 10 to 11. 1 year. Yeah. 1 year. Okay, so let's get into surf news this week. I've got more listener line calls later, but in surf news,
a lot of big surf news this week.
Quote, bombshell explodes as World Surf League allegedly detonates its much ballyhooed WSL studios overnight, sending tens of employees to the unemployment line without warning and pivoting hard away from original media.
A shocking story, possibly the beginning of the end of the World Surf League.
How many times have you said that before?
Well, I don't think I've wondered it probably before, but this one is both true and seems a lot more serious than anything else. Like,
so it's not, you saying it's true. It's not just rumor.
That's not a rumor. This has been confirmed by externally by people who have confirming with people who have been fired.
So what's the story and how many tens of employees? That is a funny headline, tens of employees. But then I thought, does it even hit double digits? Were there 10 people working for WSL Studios?
No, and I think the thing is, it goes beyond WSL Studios. So from what I've heard, I've heard like 12, and I don't think it's the numbers exactly firm yet. But people got let go, laid off without warning, who were tangential to so WSL Studios, yes, but even beyond that, people who are on the media side, not directly related to the the tour side, gone.
Got it.
Done.
So let's back up a little bit. I'm going to let you lay some of the groundwork. WSL is the World Surf League. They hold tours and competitions. What is WSL Studios? When did it come to be and why does it exist?
So a few years ago, I think right prior to Eric Logan's introduction as the CEO, or maybe it was exactly when he became CEO, the World Surf League decided tours is not, that's just part of our business. What we really are is a media company. So an entire shift, public shift to, we are a content creation and media company now. We will be doing like the tour, yes, it's there kind of as a thing that we do, but what we're really going to do is build shoulder content on top of this tour, right? So films and television programs and all this content, all this media, that's, we're a media company. We're not a tour company. And so, they big announcement about the WSL Studios. I think Eric Logan actually came into the job first, did he not? As the head of the WSL Studios before he was CEO.
So Eric was hired to run the video content thing, but I don't think it was WSL Studios when he was hired.
Yeah.
He was just hired to run programming for the WSL. And I think while he was there, he created the WSL Studios. He then got transitioned into the CEO role for the WSL and put other people in place to run the studios.
Exactly. But now that is done, like not even what, maybe it was 3 years old. But this seems like so the pivot to media was a big pivot, right? Now this hard pivot directly away back to the tour side of the business seems pretty shaky. It seems like, well, we tried this thing that flat out did not work. We're going to go back to this other thing that we had abandoned because we didn't think it was valuable enough. So if you're going back to the thing that you didn't think was valuable enough, then to me, that's where the shakiness comes in of like, well, it seems like Ziff must have either lost faith or is, paring down and cutting losses. I mean, something major is happening.
So the only reason to bring Eric Logan into the WSL was because of his production background. He ran Oprah Studios. So even though WSL Studios didn't exist when he was hired on, it makes perfect sense that it would have existed once he was there, because that's probably what he was hired for. And the WSL has lost money running tours and competitions, reportedly to the tune of $20 million a year. And so it made sense for them to also pivot and create a business model that presumably would make money. Question is, what did they do? What did WSL Studios do? We know that they did a deal with Dana White to co-produce The Ultimate Surfer and sell that to ABC. They created the Billy documentary, I believe. I know, actually.
Yep.
And it seems like they then created things that were more geared for YouTube. The unboxing series with Koa Smith, the lawn days where they go and interview professional CT athletes at their home to kind of do the MTV Cribs thing. So
Lawn Patrol.
Yeah, Lawn Patrol. Thank you. So yeah, it seemed like there was this kind of multifaceted attack on, we're going to have feature films, we're going to have reality TV, we're going to hit the YouTube thing, and it'll all serve to build these athletes' profiles who are then competing in our tours and competitions. So hopefully that'll bolster tours and competitions to then become a profitable business as well. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I think that also maybe even disregarding the tours altogether, like that is fine and that can run. And yes, there'll be some crossover, but where our real revenue generator is going to be and what people are going to be more interested in are these stories about surfers, not necessarily these surfers competing.
Which is great, by the way. Like, getting us to care about the personal lives or the backstories of any of these surfers will only make us invest more in their competitive results and success. I mean, we kind of talk a lot about the Formula One series, Drive to Survive.
Which is theoretically still happening with, so the news I have on that one is that they filmed, not to cut you off, but the team who did Drive to Survive did a deal with
films.
Yep, did a deal with the World Surf League 2 to do the same thing in surfing. Filmed last year, and what I heard, rumor, but I think probably true, is that they didn't get enough last year, that they followed Gabriel and Idolo's journey, and that was not compelling enough. So with Drive to Survive, they'll shoot it one season, right? And then the program drops before the new season of F1, right? And so it excites you for this new season of F1, you get this story, and then the new season of F1 starts. So theoretically, the Surf to Survive, or what's it called? Does it have a name?
I don't know.
Whatever it was going to be, should have dropped at the start of this season, didn't. And my sources tell me the reason is they didn't feel they had compelling enough stuff. So they started shooting again this year, following Kelly Slater. And so, yeah, theoretically, that's still ongoing.
Which could be a great story if Kelly wins his world title, or if he retires. It's still a great story. But those aren't produced by WSL Studios. Those are produced by Box to Box Films, so they can still exist without the WSL Studios, which is kind of what you and I had discussed over these last couple of years of WSL Studios. Is your staff seems to be spread too thin. You can't be everything to everyone. So you can't have the shortboard tour and a longboard tour and the big wave tour and the production company. And unless you staff all of that stuff up individually, and it's all each servicing its own kind of core goals and audience, it's very difficult to do all the different things. And I think that then we've seen those things get kind of cut short or done haphazardly, and they're just mediocre versions, like the Big Wave World Tour. It's a mediocre version of what it could possibly be. The athletes feel like they're being shortchanged. Just viewers feel like we're being shortchanged. Who knows how sponsors feel about the whole thing? The longboard tour clearly is having its own stuff. Their own champion is calling them out on it. Us as viewers of the core tour are unhappy. So,
and I've heard it's a chain of command problem at the World Surf League, where there's competent people in each sort of division.
Yeah.
But there's no clear chain of command for how stuff gets done. So then incompetent people, like, I don't want to call Eric Logan incompetent, but I think in a lot of it, he is incompetent, right? Or doesn't know. Stuff will funnel to either him or other people who don't know. And then so non-surf decisions are made on stuff that, like it's a huge mess from everything I hear.
So let's talk about WSL Studios real quick. Or it doesn't have to be quick. Was the big bet was the Ultimate Surfer. So give that a grade. Was that a success?
I mean, clearly not. It had horrible ratings. I think it had very tepid to horrible reviews. I think as a thing to sell to ABC, sure, that's a success. Like, to get a television show on air at a major network was a success. But also network television, dropping in viewership numbers and importance, coupled with the show having an awful time slot, coupled with it being an awful show, with an awful concept. I think, like, there was things that could have made the Ultimate Surfer good, right? Not having it at Kelly's pool would have been thing number one. Like, if they would have put these surfers on an island somewhere,
North Shore, just put them on the North Shore pipe.
Sure. Then there would have been struggle and all this naturally built in. At Kelly's pool, all the artificial stuff, I think, both turned off core fans and also was not engaging to non-core fans. So I think, sure, selling a show to ABC was a win. Everything other than that was a loss. And I think the other big thing which I don't know why everybody bet so heavily on this. I think the theory went that once surfing was in the Olympics, it was going to spike interest in surfing around the globe, which I don't think that, maybe is arguably still happening. But I think at least the Tokyo Games, I don't think saised the profile of surfing in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So WSL Studios sets out with a goal. Their big bet flops, doesn't get renewed for a second season. What about the YouTube focused content? Let's go ahead and give me a grade on the unboxing videos with Koa.
I'll give you a grade on them.
The Getting Heated series that they were doing, where they're recapping different events with the commentators. What's your grade on all that stuff?
I mean, I think all of those could have been something, but they all clearly failed, right? They didn't get the engagement, the views, or the traction that any of them needed to do to kind of stay alive themselves. And again, World Surf League doesn't know how to tell. It doesn't do a good job of telling stories. Like, the wall of positive noise and all of it is such a jumbled mess. It's not good at that, right? You need tension. UFC, for example, does a great job of telling stories because there's no wall of positive noise. There's people fighting each other both publicly and privately. There's, Dana White getting in the way and saying caustic things, but the profile of the UFC and stories that come from the UFC are all intriguing. World Surf League didn't know how to do that, didn't do that. And so I think all of them, clearly the thing that matters is engagement, and none of them had enough engagement to continue on or to be viable. So F's across the board.
Yeah, it's interesting. Remember how good Red Bull's 21 Days series was?
Sure.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's like, just give us that.
Well, and I mean, the thing is that, which is probably what they will do now, is they should have outsourced
Yeah.
to companies or media properties that do a good job of telling stories already, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't want to give any credit to Stab ever, but Stab does a good job at that, right? And
Of
so
course.
partner with Stab, partner with Red Bull, partner with people who, you know, be very brave, and partner with Beach Grit. Like, I mean, partner with companies who do a good job of telling stories and or are, you know, get natural engagement, and do it with them. To be arrogant and think, no, we know best, we're doing it ourselves, seemed a real miss from the start.
There is a miss from step one on each of these projects. I'm just thinking about the Billy project. It was a 4-part documentary series. I think it was 4 parts, maybe 5. Compare that to 100 Foot Wave, which again was produced by non-surfing production company about Garrett McNamara at Nazare. I was compelled by every single episode of that. And they've been renewed for season 2. So they're executing precisely what the WSL and WSL Studios hoped to do, which was engage the non-core audience. And Billy had all the potential to do exactly that. Like, the story's compelling, the footage is beautiful, all that kind of stuff. And I made it through 1.5 episodes of that before I tuned out.
The problem is HBO knows what they're doing in telling those stories. And so pick the right person in Garrett, pick the right place in Nazare, picked the right way to tell that story. The World Surf League, like, I think funny reading, I mean, this is a small sample size, but big enough, I suppose, reading Beach Grit comments during the Sunset. Was Billy at Sunset or Pipeline?
Yeah, Sunset.
It was pure negative comments about Billy, right? Where, so they didn't even do a good job of making him likable to the surf fan, which is, how are you going to make, if you're not making this guy, if the whole point of this documentary, not whole point, but is to tell an interesting story, like, how much more do you like Garrett McNamara after 100 Foot Wave?
I hated Garrett before. Now I
you
love
like
him.
Precisely. I mean, this is the whole point. This is good storytelling, right? They take the subject, and doesn't always have to be making them likable, but makes you think Garrett McNamara has value, right? Garrett to me was like a sideshow kind of joke before. Shouldn't have been. That was a rude, you know,
yeah,
it wasn't the right take for me to have, but 100 Foot Wave corrected my misperception. I think Billy, the Billy doc, not only did it not correct misperceptions, it probably made misperception that Billy is not a very good guy, or a arrogant guy or something. Like, it did something that it tarnished Billy Kemper in a way that a you know, profile documentary should not tarnish the subject like that, unless you're doing it on purpose, unless it's about, like, you know, whatever, the Joe Exotic or something.
Yeah. And funnily, despite all those missteps, the tour, once it runs in good waves of consequence, it wins. You know, like the Pipe event, the Sunset event, despite all the shortcomings, put surfers in those waves and everything else solves itself.
That's what I wonder, if it really came down to them, like, other people are doing this way better than we're doing it. Like, if the 100 Foot Wave, for example, was as much a dagger into WSL Studios as their own failures were. Watching other people succeed at what they should have by rights been doing must have made someone at the very tip top question, well, if other people are doing this better, and we cannot do it, then why are we continuing to try?
They have to ask that question.
They've truly failed from the get.
Well, and the same thing goes, by the way, for all the YouTube focused content, which I was saying throughout the pandemic, which was, how is everything WSL on hold when they have a production company, and yet Ben Gravy and Jamie O'Brien and Nathan Florence are still posting 2 episodes a week? You know? And so, yeah, if those guys are doing it better, either partner with them, which should have been the very first move.
Wrap those guys up.
Wrap them up, man. You could do it probably for cheap at that time, and they're doing it better, and they're clearly motivated. It's not like an employee that you're giving a salary to that you have to wonder what, you know, it's just like, just empower these guys to do what they're obviously very, very good at. So the question now comes back to, if Eric Logan, his entire resume is studio production, doing deals, licensing, all that sort of stuff. That's why they hired him for the WSL. He now, for some reason, is running tours and competition. He's overseeing the entire organization. If they're not going to have WSL Studios as part of the entity, is Eric Logan still the right guy for the CEO position?
I mean, I can't see him long for that job anymore, right? Like, I'd have to think that, and I have no inside knowledge and nothing against Eric, but it's just, that's not his expertise, right? Like, if they're going to pare down to only that, I just can't see. I see a mutual parting of ways coming shortly.
Would Eric, yeah, that's the thing. Would Eric even want to be running tours and competition if there's no studio?
I think he loves to be part of surfing, and he can go to the North Shore and hang out there, and like, it depends on how, I suppose, how much, I don't know, career energy he has left over, right? Does he want to take bigger steps up somewhere, or is he satisfied just, sorry.
It's all right. Do you want to pause?
Yeah, 1 second. Somebody's like shouting outside.
Yeah, I'll just hang here. You can leave your phone on, whatever.
Okay, hold on real quick. Be right back. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Stinking. Okay, back.
No big deal. Do you remember what thought you were on? You said it depends on where Eric Logan's at in his career.
Yeah. It depends on where he's at in his career, I think. Does he want, does he have more career ambitions? Does he want to go head up now another studio, or be involved in that kind of stuff? Or is he happy to just do surfing?
I think he's a very ambitious guy from everything I know about him, and there's no chance that he's going to plateau or step down in his kind of level of what the WSL is doing. He needs growth. And so I think there's there's more opportunities now for producing than there's ever been before. I could see him going to YouTube. I could see him going to any of the streaming services, maybe back to Oprah.
The problem is he a lousy producer?
Well, that is a different question. But the reality is, nobody that he'd be going to get a job from knows enough about surfing to actually criticize what he did in the surf world. He could easily use what's happened in the last 3 years as value added to surfing. He could say, we grew the audience. We did a deal with ABC. We made a documentary. We grew the studios to this level, or whatever,
I suppose that's exactly what that kind of corporate speak gets you to. Like, that's why that stuff is valuable, because you can spin gold out of thin air.
And those other entities are, again, they're not savvy enough to criticize otherwise.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're exactly right. And I'm sure the audience has grown and all this, under his leadership. Like, I'm sure those numbers, those are all would be real numbers.
Yeah.
We know what.
But they're not reflective.
No.
Yeah, they're not reflective of success, clearly.
Lies and damn lies.
Exactly. Ben Franklin, right? Yep. Okay.
Or was it Twain?
I don't know, dude. I think it's Ben Franklin, actually. Whenever you don't know. Okay, we'll look it up afterwards. Yep. Whenever you don't know.
It's Ben Franklin.
Whenever you don't know who a quote is attributed to, you could just say Ben Franklin.
A pithy American quote is guaranteed Ben Franklin or Mark Twain.
He wrote a book about it. There's a book. Do you know the book?
No.
Poor Richard's Almanac.
Oh, sure, of course, yeah. Know it.
Poor Richard's Almanac is just quote after quote from Ben Franklin.
Yep.
So, by the way, Eric Logan, you said, is he a good producer? I don't know, but what he did for Oprah's network was legit. I remember when Oprah got off her daytime show and launched that network, and it had all the potential of Jake Marshall when he was 9 years old, and then completely floundered until they put Eric Logan at the helm. And it could have been a confluence of things, but the thing thrived once Eric
Wild success.
Rogan,
Yeah.
wild success. So maybe it can be attributed to Eric. He's, again, and using the Jake Marshall analogy, he did for Oprah's network what Jake Marshall did at Sunset Beach.
I wonder who comes in. Let's say Eric like steps out. I mean, so all of this was supposed to be, I think, top secret till Friday.
Today.
So
Oh, tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yeah. So all this, I wonder if there's consternation in the Santa Monica offices that this got let out of the bag earlier than I'm sure they had a rollout plan about talking about it, and now it's getting all talked about around and under and ahead of them.
Yeah.
But
Well,
who takes the job then? Just somebody, they bring somebody over like Sophie Goldschmidt again, a executive who deals with running tour operations, and do it again. I mean, doesn't it look like the turnover there at the top does not look good organizationally? Like to have multiple CEOs since Ziff has taken over.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think that you can recruit from that world and try to entice somebody because the track record is really poor. I think you have to recruit from within the surf world and
Brody Carr.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who the right person is, but there is somebody in the surf world who would do a better job at it than what we've seen in the recent years.
Ian Cairns.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, Fernando Aguirre.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real truth, is thinking Fernando knows that business, has grown the ISA ridiculously, has honestly got surfing into the Olympics. Like Fernando's track record has been one of unmitigated seeming success over the last 5 years as it relates to ISA versus the WSO.
Well, so yeah, specific to competitions, he's the right guy for the job, but specific to being a businessman, he's the right guy for the job. And he's a visionary.
Do you think he would step away from the ISA to take over? Or, I mean, really what should happen is they should roll up WSL with ISA. That totally, I mean, Ziff's money was for naught, I suppose, at that point. It would just be a straight charity if he rolled it into the ISA.
Which is fine because Fernando is also a philanthropist.
Yeah, but I don't know that Ziff is. I mean, that would be the big loss for Ziff. Like he would be taking his one thing and basically making it worthless and or a negotiated part of a broader organization.
So aside from the rolling it up, if they just offered Fernando the gig, it would be a great move for the WSL. And I think that Fernando is enough, he's altruistic enough or whatever to be willing to do it as well. Like he wouldn't need to take the job, obviously, for his career. It would actually be a tremendous amount of thankless work with potentially just getting ridiculed all along the way and criticized. But I think that he's got a thick enough skin. I think he's enough of a philanthropist that I think he would actually be able to right the ship.
I mean, even Fernando, you know, I've poked fun at Fernando off and on at Beach Grit, but he and I even had a wonderful exchange after all that. Like I had written something not true and he directly challenged, finally came at me, but it wasn't hurt feelings and like, you're a jerk for all this stuff. It was like, we were bros after that, which is sort of what it should be. Right. And I mean, this is surfing. We should be able to, and Fernando is a surfer.
Right. That's key.
Yeah. He
got into the entire thing because he just loves surfing.
Yep.
So moving on from the WSL Studio story, booze sponsor, quote, ethicists, corporate watchdogs, extremely troubled after World Surf League adds yet another beer as official beer sponsor of professional surfing tour ahead of Australian leg of tour.
How many beers can you have? I know that it's a specific beer for the Australian leg. They have regional beer, but it seems like that's the only thing the WSL gets these days is beer sponsorships, right? From Michelob Ultra, Gold Ultra, or whatever, to 805, to now Cooper's in Australia, like just this beer train rolling along.
What's the story behind the part of the headline that says ethicists and corporate watchdogs are extremely troubled?
Well, it was mostly me as an ethicist and a corporate watchdog thinking, which of these beers is the most surfy? Which is the consumer supposed to take as surfy beer? Remember back in the day, when you were younger, or when I was younger, at least I can speak to myself or for myself, and like would really, if a brand sponsored a team that I liked or something, right, then I felt committed to that brand. Of course,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
faded over the years, but like, so I could picture like, a 21-year-old guy, like, yeah, it's just a recent fan of the WSL. I love this. Okay, Michelob Ultra, that's my beer, man.
Totally.
And then, oh wait, it's 805 now. Okay, I guess 805. No, wait, it's Cooper's now. Poor kid, poor 21-year-old. How's he supposed to?
He's got 6 packs of like 8 different beers. He doesn't know which one to grab based on the season. Corona obviously is a huge partner.
Completely. So yeah, that's the part ethically that worries me, is for that guy. What's he supposed to bring to a party now to advertise that he's a surfer?
Well, maybe they're breeding a sophisticated viewing audience. So on taco night, you drink Corona. On meat pie night, you drink the Coopers. If you're gonna, what do they drink in the 804? Or what do they eat in the 805? Hamburgers. Yeah. So hamburger night, 805.
And yeah, it's good. I mean, it'd be great if they could roll all of this out, though, in this exact way. Because again, my worry and concern is for the 21, 22-year-old surf fan who really wants to advertise as a surfer to others. What are they supposed to do? Give that person, WSL, give that person a leg up.
As long as they're drinking it out of a hydro flask, people will know they're a surfer.
Okay, good.
Right.
That's good. That's good. At least
their hydro flask partnership conceals everything for you. Can put whatever beer you want in there and people will know.
Thank you. You can also put barefoot wine in there.
That's true.
Yeah.
Get a big jungle juice going, mix everything in there together. So I thought that story was going a totally different angle. And this has come up for me I'll tell you, the people who have brought this conversation up to me, and I've never fully bought into the conversation, but you and I can have it now. Dave Parmenter and Andrew Kidman, both separately, have brought up to me a disapproval of the World Surf League partnering with alcohol brands. And so both those guys are kind of anti-competition anyways, and anti-corporatization of surfing. And Dave left the tour largely because of that and kind of chasing a different ethos. But he used the beer or alcohol sponsorships of their competitions as part of the reason, or where he kind of realized there was a dividing point. And then Andrew Kidman separately talks about the modern iteration of surfing and just like, gosh, the alcohol partnerships are an exact kind of example of what's wrong with surfing, like how it totally, is, I don't know, it's not disingenuous because surfers do drink alcohol, but maybe I think his angle or argument is that it's not beneficial for the surfing lifestyle. It's anti the surfing lifestyle.
Well, and I think the World Surf League in particular, in its sort of greenwashing, health consciousness washing way, just creates more confusion, right? Like, you don't need to be WSL doesn't need, or surfing doesn't need to position itself as a healthy lifestyle alternative, which they regularly do at the WSL, right? They don't need to do that. They could have a cigarette sponsor. They could just say, hey, we're a business and we got booze and ciggies and whoever's going to sponsor it, we're down with it, right? So I think it's another part. I totally understand Parmenter and Kidman, those concerns, because I feel they're not obviously picking up on this alone. Like, they have their own beef with it for sure, but it's just it's more WSL hypocrisy of, we are a healthy, good for you, family friendly thing brought to you by alcohol.
Right.
Which is, they don't be healthy and family friendly, or don't bring that by alcohol.
Right. I fully, I don't know, I'm 40 years old now. So, oh man, we got a listener line call coming in while we're online. Can you hear that ringing?
No.
Okay, good. As long as you can't hear it, we'll just keep doing the show. Maybe we'll play it next week. Yeah, I'm 40 years old. So like I don't feel influenced by those beer commercials, like maybe I would have when I was 20, like you're talking about. Because I did feel it when I was 20. And when Kidman and Parmenter brought that up to me, I fully understood their point of view, but I didn't necessarily feel the same way that they felt because I'm kind of like, I enjoy alcohol, and I enjoy it responsibly and it's part of my life. And I understand the corporate or the business interest of needing to get paid. And if those companies are profitable and have a marketing budget, while the companies that I would rather work with don't, then who cares? It's kind of,
Totally.
it's a business decision.
I mean, I agree. It's just, but again, the part that roils is just hypocrisy, which the WSL just does a great job of being hypocritical. Like they could talk environmentalism all day, every day, but would gladly take on a plastics manufacturing sponsor if they're going to pay.
Exactly. I've been working for well over a year on a vodka partnership for this show here.
Never works.
I got one step closer at our wedding that we were at a week or two ago.
Ooh, that was a good looking wedding.
Thanks. We, a friend, a close family friend owns a vodka brand and liquor distribution company. And that vodka brand is a perfect fit, not only for our show, but because of surfing ties. And so I've had a conversation with the owner, but he doesn't really make those types of decisions. He's kind of, he's got people in place. So the next move, the connection that I made at the wedding was put me in contact with the dude who makes the partnership conversations, and then we'll make this happen. But it has sign off from the owner already.
Did you get put into contact with the dude who makes those decisions? I'm excited about this.
I'm going to follow up on that and make that happen soon.
Great. Then we can
have our own alcohol sponsorship.
We can talk about healthy lifestyle choices and being right while but
it's not hypocritical. It's not hypocritical because we've also equally talked about our love for booze along the way.
True. WSL, learn from us.
Yeah, exactly. Should we do a couple listener line calls?
Let's do it.
Okay. Sit tight while I find the right one. The first one's a little bit sad, actually, but we have to discuss.
Hey, David. How you doing, man? It's Garth calling. Hey, first of all, congrats on the birth of your son. My youngest just turned 17 the other day, so trust me, time flies. You'll look back and go, where the heck did the time go? So cherish every minute you possibly can with raising your children. Hey, want to find out, I think you guys had some discussion earlier about Mike Lambrisi and his accident that he had down in Baja. Wonder if you guys can speak to that. I guess there's quite a bit going on with that guy. He's in the hospital again. I guess there's some consideration of an amputation. But anyways, just wonder if you guys had any info on that, could talk to it. Stay barrel or get barrel. Adios and aloha. I think that's all the sign-off monikers you guys have at the moment. Peace. Later.
Thanks
any updates on Mike Lambrisi? Yeah, he forgot about that one.
Yeah, Derek's been following this one. And yeah, the last post that Derek had on it was just, that he was in incredible pain and had never thought about considered amputation, but the pain was such that it was flitting through his mind. So hopefully he's mending right now, but
if listeners have the stomach for it, Mike Lambrisi, former pro surfer, still amazing surfer, go to his Instagram account, and he's been posting these unbelievably graphic photos of this incident. So he was down in Gaviotas in Baja on just like a weekend getaway with his wife, surfing, and was just taking photographs, like walked down to the rocky shoreline, was just taking a couple of photographs on his iPhone, and was climbing back up to the little cliff area and slipped and fell, compressed his ankle or his foot. It's like the heel of his foot that took the impact. It wasn't as if he fell from a 20-foot cliff. It was literally like just scaling a couple little boulders, foot slipped, boom, slams into the ground and did damage to his heel. And that initial kind of, it looked like a compound fracture kind of from that initial photo. There was bone poking through. Went to the hospital. He posted those photos. it was like, man, this is a really crazy injury for like a not so significant fall, but I'm at the hospital. Thankfully, we're here, we're going to treat it. Well, in the month or two since then, apparently it's got infected. He's now posting photos of it where it's, black and skin is being kind of eaten away. And now the doctors are talking about the potential of amputation of his foot. And so this is an otherwise healthy male surfing really, really well, and then has this freak accident who now within a couple weeks time is facing the reality of possible amputation and never being able to surf again.
Yeah, it's a brutal story. Like it just, I mean, very, very, very sorry for Mike. But yeah, it just goes to show, like, you think your life is going one way and then one little thing and off it is in a different direction.
That's how that story hit me as well, which was, I mean, and Garth, the caller, started out the call by saying, really cherish every moment as a parent, but beyond being a parent as well, this story is a good reminder of, I mean, you could mitigate against every possible threat and you still are subject to just kind of the randomness and the crazy chaoticness of the world.
Like Al Pacino says in Heat, you get killed walking your doggy.
There you go. Val Kilmer movie too.
Yep.
The other story that this reminds me of that is worth mentioning, Brad Basham passed away this past week. So Brad Basham ran Basham's, the eponymous surf distribution kind of spot in the ghetto in San Clemente. So this is where Lost Surfboards is, Cole Surfboards, Terry Sennett, just endless, like from old timer 50s, 60s brands to the most modern, largest surfboard manufacturers in the world kind of exist in this little pocket of San Clemente, right behind our beloved Album Surfboards that we normally record at. And Brad Basham's, he owns this distributor retail shop. So he sells blanks, resin, fiberglass, surfboards, traction, wetsuits, board bags, all the accessories as well, and supplied that entire ghetto of board builders. And Brad, I think, was in his maybe 60s at this point.
He was 57.
Oh, was he really?
I think so. If I recall, that's when the tributes were pouring in. It was 57, okay, but I could be wrong.
No, that's fully possible. But he rocked this old dude look. Like he had a long beard, long gray hair. So his age to me, like he could have been 57, or if he said he was 77, I would have believed that too. But I actually got to know Brad fairly somewhat in the last decade. Brad was the sweetest, down to earth, authentic, coolest dude ever, mild mannered. He seemed like somebody who practiced yoga all the time and was probably like, he was thin but fit and kind of surfed. So he felt like vegetarian yoga lifestyle dude. But what I remember about him, or what I loved about him, appreciated, was he remembered me. Like I met him once in passing initially, didn't see him for 2 or 3 years. And then as soon as I saw him, he referred to me by name, remembered what we had talked about previously, seemed authentically engaged in in me and in the conversation every time that I engaged with him.
Yeah, I didn't know him, but everything I've read from everyone, like you can tell sort of the worth of a man or woman by, this, like the outpouring of his authenticity and what he meant to the community. Yeah, it's a big loss.
And the reason why I bring it up in relation to Lambrisi is it was totally random. He was otherwise healthy, 57-year-old. He was out back working on a compressor. Apparently, by the way, this story kind of is cobbled together from a number of different tellings, but he was out back working on a compressor in the alley, had a conversation with an employee. The employee went inside to get something, came back out, and Brad was laying on the ground. And the cause of death, which is yet to be officially disclosed, seems to be head trauma. So the thought is that he fainted from standing position and then hit his head in the alley. And so they sent paramedics, came as quickly as possible, and he ended up passing away the following day, Sunday, in the hospital. So that incident happened Saturday, passed away Sunday. And so again, reminder of like, dude, if you can be an otherwise healthy, functioning, engaged member with your family and society and everything else, and then faint and then hit your head and it's all over from that point, it's a scary, scary reminder.
Yeah. I mean, but also a reminder of have your house perpetually in order.
Totally. You just don't think you need it when you're 57, you know?
Yep. I mean, but just in terms of, have your relationship solid and
Yeah,
be a loving person and this kind of stuff. Don't be a
man,
jerk.
you come a far cry from the Chaz we once knew.
Wow. I'm not grit again.
Definitely not grit again. All right, a little bit more lighthearted call.
Chaz, David, this is James from San Diego. Just giving Mr. Gerlach a plug on the wave key. For a while, I've been considering it, but fighting the inner battle with my ego. So, man, do I really need a surf coach? I've been surfing for, consistently 10 years plus. Can do a solid cutback and do my off the tops and get my fair share of waves. But just a couple things in my surfing that I wanted to improve on. So I thought, what the heck, I'll give wave key a try, see what Mr. Gerlach has to say. So start the first lesson, the pop-up, frontside pop-up specifically, and straight up realize I've been doing the pop-up incorrectly for 15 years of my life. And not only that, I used to be a super spreader and a surf coach for one summer at a mass surf instruction organization that will remain nameless. And I, too, was instructing to straight up the wrong thing. I feel pretty embarrassed, but I'm very happy that I have now perfected my frontside pop-up thanks to Mr. Gerlach. Right on. Keep up the work, boys.
Thoughts on surf coaching, wave key, and the pop-up?
That's all I got to say is I can't wait for my own wave key session. I need it, Brad.
Yeah,
I need you.
Do you want to know what this listener is referring to, the proper way to do the pop-up?
I think isn't it like tell me. I'm not even gonna stumble out a fake answer here.
First of all, it pains me to even call it the pop-up. To me, that just sounds so kooky, but it is what it is. And this is the world we're living in. Yeah. So the way that Brad explains it to me also sounded like I don't even want to believe Brad. I know he's right, but this does not feel right to me. This isn't really how I do it. But then he explained it and I started going through the motions. And now I watch John Florence, Jack Robinson. There was one clip in particular with him like taking off under the lip at the box. And it's like, there's no way to have made this wave without doing it the exact way that Brad talks about. And lots of times we'll see other people, even elite, Jordy Smith, doing it slightly differently, but Jordy should be doing it the way that Brad explains. And he does sometimes, and he executes his wave more flawlessly. Anyways, what it is, you're laying on the board, obviously paddle, paddle, paddle. You kind of tuck your chin, you go into like a cat's curl. So you're lifting your back almost from the center, dragging your knee along the deck of the board and actually physically dragging it, tucking your chin in. So your back's lifting off the center of the board. You're dragging your knee to the center of the board and your head is kind of coming to the center as well. So you're lifting from like this languid flat position, lifting as if there's a string on the center of your back, pulling you up. And the weight remains low and centered the entire time. So when you're dragging your knee to the center, you then plant your foot. And by that point, your chin is kind of tucked to your knee. And then you're lifting your head straight up. So all the weight is always centered and low until you're coming to kind of the apex above it in the center, but the weight is still planted center. And at that point, you're kind of dropping in, pushing against that into the bottom turn.
I'm excited to go surfing again.
Did that make sense?
It did. You should be a wave key instructor.
Yeah. Geez, if he starts farming that out. Yeah. Franchising. Yeah. And it's really hard. It's hard to remember to do it when you're in the water. But I watched, Brad posted something last night on Instagram And before I read the caption, I just watched his first wave. He just drops in and he kicks out. Then I watched the second wave. He drops in, pumps, and kicks out. Didn't do any turns. And I was like, I'm fully engrossed in watching him get up and go down the line. Yeah. And it was exactly what I was just saying. And the effortlessness that he then kind of integrates with the wave and the line on the wave and all that kind of stuff. And even though he was just pulling out, it was like beautiful. And
He's a master.
Yeah, it was, man, it's good stuff. Anyways, this is not a paid advertisement, but we're fans of Brad and I think he's doing good work. I think he's doing work.
Yep, he's doing work.
Do you want to go to commercial break and then come back with True Grit and Barrel or Nah?
Let's do it.
How are you doing on time, by the way?
Probably got another 20.
Okay, cool. All right, Chaz, let's do a commercial with AG1. I sent Jamie Brissick, when we had him on, he sat in on our AG1 commercial and he's like, oh, and I get to walk away with 6 free packs. And I felt bad that I didn't have those. I mailed him a full month supply pouch.
Oh, the pouch is the best because you just know the weight of it, the thickness, you know you're going to be healthy for 1 whole month.
I mean, I gave the gift of health to one of surfing's great, contributors, gifts.
You are going to prolong the treasure who is Jamie Brissick's life. And in the meantime, make it better.
Completely.
He
will be a better Jamie.
Yep. The best Jamie, thanks to AG1.
Athleticgreens.com/surf is where you go if you want to benefit from the same youthful, vibrant exuberance that Chaz and I and Jamie Brissick do. But I was thinking, more importantly, maybe you're already on the program and you see the benefits. Give the gift like we did for Jamie.
I defy somebody. I wonder if anybody's listening out there saying, I hear you guys go on and on about AG1. Malarkey. I bet it doesn't do a thing. I defy you to order it up and try yourself. You will see. You will see. All the doubters.
Nobody's once complained to me.
Nope. I've only had people going out of their way to say thank you.
Agreed. So athleticgreens.com/surf.
Delicious.
All right, Chaz, back from commercial. I've got 3 True Grit or Clickbait bullcrap headlines straight from Beach Grit that you are responsible for. You weigh in and tell me whether or not these are true stories or clickbait.
Let's do it.
Quote from Opportunity Knox Department: abandoned cargo ship laden with Porsches, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, still adrift and unmanned off surf-rich Azores.
Totally true. I don't know how far off the Azores it is, but when I found that out, I've been following. Have you been following the story of this ship?
I saw the headline on a different website before I saw it on Beach Grit, but I did not follow the story.
Yeah, so apparently a cargo container with hundreds of millions, I think hundreds of millions of dollars worth of luxury cars, Bentleys, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Audis, caught fire in the Atlantic off the Azores somewhere. Crew abandoned ship. And so it was just sitting there floating. Fire finally went out. Fire crews were going in, or salvage crews or whatever, to try to sort it out, but couldn't, weather kept them back. So it's still unmanned. It's just floating there. And I do believe that maritime law is finders keepers, losers weepers. So I think if a opportunistic surfer paddled out and hopped aboard, they could claim it as their own. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong there. But I think maritime law is straight up finders weepers. I mean, finders keepers, losers weepers. But maybe that's for things that have sunken. Maybe that's for boats that have gone to the ocean floor. In that case, it's 100%. You find it's yours.
Or run aground even, right?
Yeah, I think run aground too. I don't know if an abandoned drifting boat is first come, first serve.
Well, Martin Daly, that's part of his business, was salvage and treasure hunting, essentially. Yeah. And I mean, I would do it for one of those cars. Exactly. if you had the machinery to just go next to that giant cargo ship and pull off one of the cars, put them on your own boat and sail away, I think, yeah, you're entitled to it. You should get that car.
Even if you don't have the machinery, even if you have a boat and you're sitting in the Azores and you think, wait a second, you're a surfer, adventurous and brave, go and tie up off that thing and just hop aboard. And according to the salvage tug people, the deck is like, it's still a little warm inside the boat from the fire, but there was no flames. They couldn't see any flames. They're assuming the deck now is fine. Just go hang out. For sure, if you're hanging out on that boat, you can claim a car once they all come. Just say, hey, I came here. I want that Porsche.
You know what I'm going to do? Steal the key. So I don't have a way to get that Porsche off the cargo ship, but I'm just going to keep those keys so that when they finally get that cargo ship onto land and they're like, gosh, how do we move this car? I'm going to swoop in and peel out.
Done. See, this is one of the greatest. I was following the story a bit. It's just this is a zero loss for anyone. Any surfer, I think it's still, maybe the crews are there today. Maybe you waited one day too long. But if you're listening, you're near the Azores, have at it. Go on an adventure.
We already know that you're a Porsche man. Which car would you pick off that cargo ship?
I just go classic 911 Carrera, probably. I would just go I wouldn't be greedy, just a Porsche 911.
And what is the street value, or what's the sticker value of that car?
Street value is, I think, probably, I don't know, between like 110-ish maybe.
So the Lambos are 400, right?
Yeah, I'm not greedy. I'm a Porsche guy.
Huh.
I'll take a Porsche. I'm no Kanoa Igarashi.
What's he driving?
I don't know, but he wears a gold chain, so I would imagine that he would want a Lamborghini.
I would think so too. Okay, story number 2. Quote, ex-president of United States, friend of Kelly Slater, Barack Obama, nears completion of South Oahu family home culturally appropriated from Magnum PI, exclamation point.
True, and I just found out about this because I think the earlier stories on this did not finger Barack Obama specifically, but how rude is this?
I don't even know what the headline means.
Did you watch Magnum PI?
Heck yeah.
You know Robin's Nest, that home?
Yeah.
That's what Obama bought. Guess what he did with that home? Raised it. He tore it down.
Oh,
what a
no.
jerk. Yes. Barack Obama tore down I think it was a 1930s Spanish colonial, iconic, beautiful home. Why don't you want that home on your property? He bought 3 acres, tore Robin's Nest down, culturally appropriated for Magnum PI. Rude. Don't you think that's rude?
Yeah, it's very, well, I trust that there's a reason that he did it, but I don't understand how that's culturally appropriated.
Well, he took the culture of Magnum PI and appropriated it into his own.
I'm calling BS on this story. There's a story there, but there's no cultural appropriation.
Culturally appropriated. I suppose you're right. But I suppose if Barack Obama started driving around in a Ferrari 308, then he'd be culturally appropriating.
That's where I thought this story was going. I thought that the story was he bought a house, renovated it to look like the Robin's Nest, started wearing short shorts and an Aloha shirt, and got a Ferrari and a mustache. You're thought right. That's where
this one's clickbait. You're right. There's no cultural appropriation. There's just cultural denigration, cultural destruction.
Exactly. He's destructing our childhood 80s memories.
Yep. Barack.
Tom Selleck has aged. That guy looked like an old man to me when I was young. He has aged very gracefully. He looks like an even older man now, still as handsome as he was back in the 80s.
What different times we live in. I remember one of my teachers in elementary school, female teachers, had a poster on her wall of like sweaty Tom Selleck playing beach volleyball, all hirsute Tom Selleck playing volleyball in the classroom.
That's amazing. My grandmother had a big poster of Tom Selleck in the Magnum PI kind of garb, probably like a, production advertisement or something, in her house.
Amazing.
She loved Tom Selleck. It's the only time I've ever realized that my grandma had some other desire in life other than raising us children.
Oh man, well, that is great. Yeah, we should get a Tom Selleck poster for Album Surfboards and our home studio.
We really should. We should actually get my grandma and your teacher to go on a lunch date together, go to tea together, and
cough one
talk
up.
Talk about Tom Selleck.
Yep.
All right. Final True Grit or clickbait headline, quote, surf website come environmental watchdog Beach Grit forces Kelly Slater's sustainable brand Outerknown to pivot towards semi-sustainable practices in new year, exclamation point.
I'm going to say this one's true. I don't know how responsible we are, but I have to feel we are somewhat. So before Christmas, I got a full bleed, clearly toxic Outerknown catalog in the mail. I didn't ask for it. It came for maybe a neighbor. I don't know. But I was flipping through it and thinking, this is straight up for Kelly to be, and for Outerknown to be all environmental. This is a straight up landfill disaster, print toxic to print. You know, what is this? So wrote about it. I do believe the headline at the time was Kelly Slater's Outerknown fills landfills with holiday cheer ahead of Christmas. So then the other day I went to the mailbox, flipping through it, saw some flimsy junk thing. Lo and behold, it's the Outerknown catalog. But this time on the back page, there was some big, like, this is printed on sustainable paper, whatever, like some seal of approval from some sustainable paper watchdog. And they went out of their way to make it look sustainable. Like it was like frayed edges with some kind of like, it like honestly looked like they went in and got another catalog and then just printed their catalog over it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I feel that the obviousness or them advertising their catalog as sustainable made me think that Beach Grit had a impact in their choices.
And so in the headline, you force them towards semi-sustainable practices.
I think still junk mailing people you could be better. The junk mail is unnecessary.
Yeah, ever since you mentioned that on air, that story, I get at least one DM a week, often two, of people showing me that catalog showing up at their door and them thumbing through it. And yeah, it's a full mail order catalog that's mailed out to random people. And most of them in that, when they send it, they say, I never signed up for this.
Nope, don't want it.
How did they find me?
The WSL is definitely selling information.
Oh, there's a story.
Yep, every time you click on.
Yeah. Okay, well, moving on. Barrel or nah?
Do it.
Believing in UFOs.
Ooh, I would have said nah up until the military.
Your microphone's covered.
Oops, sorry. I would have said nah up until recently when all those pilots started seeing UFOs. So I'm going to say, I suppose barrel. I suppose it's not barrel not to believe.
So we have a freelance video editor who edits this very podcast for us to post it on YouTube. And she was a longtime listener. She's a supporter of our work as well, a subscriber. And so now I'm employing her as a video editor. And she's also working on some other project for, she works in TV production, I think mainly. And she's like, dude, I'm working on this project that's about UFOs. And I've become a believer. She's like, I didn't believe before. Now that I'm editing this program, this is freaking a real thing.
I mean, all those pilot sightings and whatnot, I don't know what they are. I don't know what they're seeing, but they're these Navy pilots or Air Force pilots, whoever they are, who know physics and whatever, the way things move, are seeing things that don't move in an earthly manner or in a way that I guess jives with our Earth physics. So yeah, I don't know what that is, but it's undeniable that there's something there.
Well, do you have any religious beliefs that block you from the belief that this could exist?
No. Nor
do I, right? And I'd have to dig deep into the Bible to find out like what the Bible says. Does the Bible say anything?
No, I mean, I don't think that there's anything specific like those who believe in the spaceship are, believing in false gods or whatever. No, I don't think it addresses it in one way or another. And you could probably, a passage or two in there probably lends itself possibly with a weird reading to thinking there's something else. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, it's just not a concern either way. Like, it's not nothing I'm going to think about, because via the Bible, I have my set of instructions on what to do here on earth. And like, so if they exist or if they don't exist, it doesn't affect me or what I know that I'm supposed to be doing either way. Right. So,
Right.
but the evidence looks fairly compelling. Are you compelled?
Now, that's the thing, is I never had evidence before. So I'm skeptical just about theories and conspiracies in general. And I'm inclined to just not believe until there's enough evidence. And with the UFOs, I haven't investigated them really. I just come across an occasional documentary or some news story. And
You haven't
none
looked at all
of
this
that
pilot stuff?
now, well, yeah, now that stuff. But
Yeah.
just throughout my life, there'd never
Yeah.
been enough evidence that made me want to believe, or actually I do want to believe. It just never was enough evidence to make me really believe. And I don't have any religious blockade that also forces ignorance, you know? But now with this new stuff and with telling me this, and I told her, I'm like, send me that show as soon as it's available. She said it'll be a little while, but it's very compelling. And I find myself wanting to believe. Like,
What do you want them to be?
I don't know. I haven't thought that far, but it's just really scintillating to have the
Yeah.
belief.
I mean, it's one of those childhood things, I think, where you would flip through it in your world book or whatever. And of course, it was, as a kid, UFO stuff was always compelling. And so I think it's one of those childhood things that was compelling that now can be recompelling in this day and age. It's also like from the whatever geopolitical troubles and whatnot, it's something like totally candy to think about. It's like a way to retreat into like fantasy world.
Fully. Did you ever see the movie Arrival?
Yes.
Did you remember?
That was who was the star of that?
Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner.
I remember being really disappointed, really let down with Arrival.
You got to rewatch it.
Okay, in light of new things that have come to light.
And also, it's a phenomenal film, and you just didn't catch it on the first glance.
She was like linguist or whatnot, right? Who was like communicating with them.
Yeah,
figuring out their language.
Exactly. So you make sure that you're not looking at your phone. Make sure you're watching the film. It is very poignant. Like the way it starts, ends, wraps everything up. It's this kind of masterpiece of storytelling, and it's made by Denis Villeneuve, who
I love him.
He's so good, right?
Great filmmaker.
Sicario, Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal. In the way that Enemy is great from a storytelling, and like things are happening that you don't fully catch until you get to the end, and now you want to go back and watch the beginning. It's great in that way. But yeah, his cinema, like cinematic kind of visuals, are what he's known for, and Arrival exists on that level as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah. So believing in UFOs, barrel. Me too. All right, barrel or not? Flushing a public toilet with your foot.
Barrel. Like, I mean, I know that theoretically that is it's not polite to the next person.
Right.
Coming in, but if everyone should just flush a public toilet with their foot. Like that's what you do. If you're short and can't get your foot up there, do some stretches and become more limber. Touching that handle, knowing everyone else is touching it with their foot, just everyone. Let's just make a general rule: flush public toilets with your feet.
This is our PSA. It has to be done this way because
it's the only way it works.
It's the only way it works. Because even if they're using their hand to touch it, they just wiped their butt with their hand.
That's gross.
So, yeah. And the problem is your foot is also on the floor of the public bathroom where there's presumably fecal matter as well. So you're transitioning the worst part of the bathroom onto the handle. But again, the best case scenario, if we all agree the opposite of this, we all agree that we all use our hand, there's going to be a lot of contamination transferred from one person's hand to the next because there's a lot of filthy people. They're wiping their butt. So that's fraught with peril. we have to go fully the other way and just transfer the most horrible part, which is the floor, from your foot onto the next person's foot, back to the floor. No hands.
Why don't toilet manufacturers, public toilet manufacturers, like I get the automatic flush, right? There's no touching there. That's problem solved. But I hate when it flushes when you're sitting there. That's the worst.
That's the problem. The automatic flush is fully failed.
Don't like that. So why don't they just have a foot pedal as the flush on public toilets? Then all problems would be solved. Why does the flusher need to be there? Why can't it be on the floor? You just stomp on it, out, done.
That would be a brilliant solution to this. At bare minimum, if they left the handle where it was, but just put a footprint on it so that you're, encouraged to use your foot, that would be smart too.
Make that thing a little bigger and sturdier. I always feel bad, like I'm really putting yards on this toilet by stomping it with my foot when it's just this little delicate, mechanism that needs to be touched. I'm stomping on it. But what are you gonna do?
It has to happen.
It's feet.
I know. It's the only way. It's the only way. The worst predicament is the ones that have the motion sensor, but it doesn't get triggered for whatever reason. But right below the motion sensor, there's a black button. And I'm like, I'm not going to touch that button with my finger. So now I've got to kick the button.
I kick the button.
Which I kick the button too, but it's like, this is a lot of technology that they put into this for sanitary purposes. And I am going the lowest route and taking my dirty foot and kicking the electronic button. I'll usually give it a wave first, like, hey, motion sensors work.
Yeah, you kick it. You got to kick it. Your hand touches nothing in the bathroom except for the handle coming in, the handle going out, and the sink knobs. That's it.
Yeah. And even then, you're going to try to use a paper towel along the way.
It's really, it's fraught with danger, but still, that's the only respectable places to touch. Handle, toilet, knob.
I'm trying to avoid the public restroom altogether.
Sure, I get it.
But occasionally you find yourself needing it. All right. Final barrel or nah is really specific to you.
Never thought I'd be a barrel on calling into a radio show, but have a journalistic question. I'm a 36-year-old male in a book club. Barrel or nah on book clubs in general. And then the second portion of the question is barrel or nah on audio books, specifically audio books in a book club. Catch a lot of flack for going to the library and requesting my books, or also buying books on Amazon. I waited to call because I just pre-ordered my blessed Be the Bank Robbers, or Blessed Are the Bank Robbers, whatever the title is. It's not here yet, but I pre-ordered it. I have also purchased Chaz's previous books used, so I don't think that directly helps Chaz, but I wanted to see your thoughts on book clubs and audio books. Keep up the work.
God bless the man. To begin with, thank you so very much for purchasing, pre-ordering. Pre-orders actually do matter. I never push it out like I should, but yeah, pre-orders is how stuff gets on bestsellers lists. And when things are on bestsellers lists, then off they go. But anyhow, I love reading so much and love books so much that book clubs I'm giving full barrel to in any form. Anything that's going to compel you to read and then discuss a book is a barrel for me.
Have you ever participated in a book club?
I've never been in one myself, but have been to book clubs before.
Yeah. I got invited years and years ago when I was first kind of getting into the wine business. And it was like the most, I don't know how to describe it, like conservative, nerdy, dry, white dudes. So like the type of wine they were into is just like these very esoteric, weird Eastern European wines. And then invited me to this book club, and it was like Homer, the Odyssey was the first book.
Oh, and
heavy. These guys were just so dry and bland. I was like, I am never coming back here, and I don't even want to talk to you guys anymore. Yeah. It's a bad experience.
I hear it. I feel that. I can understand that. Should we start a book club? Should we start?
I think maybe we should.
the Grits book club, I think it's a good idea because we could read like a Jamie book. We could discuss.
Yeah.
We totally should. We should, and cut out 5 minutes. Give the book. All the listeners could read together, and yeah, we could discuss it on air a bit. That's a great idea.
I'm totally open to this. I have a great book. Let's wait until next week to unveil.
Yes.
I have a book that's not related to any surf writers, but Albie Falzon, the filmmaker of Morning of the Earth, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this week. I interviewed him for the podcast and was having some back and forth, and he recommended a book to me that I just fully loved and was absorbed in every page.
Great. Love it.
So maybe we could
Excited.
launch with that.
Definitely excited. And then I'm also going to say yes on audiobooks. I'm going to say, if that's I love the written word. I love reading the written word, but good storytelling is good storytelling, and audio storytelling is, if that's how you like to consume a story, then great.
I think there's room for both things.
Yeah.
So there's times where you're at home and you have the opportunity to read and you should pick up a book. But what if you're driving in the car?
Can't read.
Yeah. So you
And-
listen to an audiobook.
And to me, the thing is about the story too, right? Like, it's not
I
like the
agree.
audiobook is a riff on what the author is saying. It's the exact words of the author. It's like those words matter, and the order those words go in matter. Oh man, I did read. I read Welcome to Paradise and Blessed Are the Bank Robbers for audio. Great thing is the staying true to the words as they appear on the paper. It's also a dang curse when you're reading your own, because I'll read sentences that I totally want to adjust and change. And nope, the publisher, person in charge, there's a like audio editor guy sitting there. If I go off script, if I try to change something around, I get, sorry about it. Your time for editing was a couple months ago. Read it as it exists on the page. Thank you.
Bummer.
Cool.
Speaking of books, do you have a book reading that you were doing in San Diego coming up?
I sure do. Book reading is March 16th at Warwick's bookstore in La Jolla. Warwick's, I do believe, is the oldest family-owned bookstore in the entire United States of America. It's iconic. We'll talk about it more, but one David Lee Scales will be moderating the reading.
Yeah. What does that require of me?
I think I don't know, because I've never had a moderator at one of these things. I think it's you talk to people, and then what I was wanting it to turn into kind of is an opportunity. We rarely have an opportunity to get together with listeners, and so just to have it be an opportunity to get together with anyone who wants to come hang out and do the work together.
It'll be like a live podcast, but we're talking about your book instead of surfing.
Exactly. That's it.
Okay. So Warwick's March 16th in La Jolla. Do you know what time?
I think it's 7:30, I do believe. And I don't know if you need to go on to Warwick's to pre-book your spot. I don't think you do. I think it's just show up and have fun. I think it used to be in the old days, COVID rules, like there was only a certain amount of capacity, but I think now you can just go. But yeah, 7:30, March 16th, which I do believe is a Wednesday.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So circular case, would love to meet every and all of you.
Let's blow that place out, dude. Can you imagine if we create the most well-attended reading that they've ever had there?
It'd be super fun. I would absolutely love it, and would just love to party. I'll figure out some kind of, if I can bring beverages or what, if we can really actually make it a fun scene.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Can you get me a copy of the book in advance?
I will. I'll have publisher send it, because I think it'll be there sooner than next week, but at latest next week.
Even if it's not a hard copy, just like a PDF or something.
Do you like to read hard copies?
Yeah, I'd prefer it over PDF. I would prefer it for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have them send you a book.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it, Chaz.
Thank you so much, David Lee.
Absolutely. At Surf Journalist, beachgrit.com and surfsplendorpodcast.com. Anything else, Chaz?
I think that's it.
All right. Until next week.
Get Barham.